Hello April, it's me, Aaron. I promised you a video response to your coming out video, so here it is. Sorry it took so long. April, I'm not going to tell you that you should come out of the closet in the atheistic sense, because I don't know you. It really depends heavily upon your own circumstances. And even then, it's a difficult call to make, because how well do we really know anybody? I could think that my boss would be okay with me being an atheist, but if I start talking about how I believe there's no God, how's he going to take that? I guess really the primary purpose of this video is just to tell you that you're not alone. And I know you know that because you're on YouTube now. And that's really, I think, the best part about being in this community. I announced to my hometown when I was 16 that I was an atheist. It was a very small, rural, religious town. And the majority of the responses I got were not positive. Ironically, one of the most positive responses I got was from the pastor of the church I had been attending for most of my life up to that point. So I was fortunate to have a positive role model in a religious community that was understanding. Which is why I think I was able to overcome a lot of anger that I might have felt otherwise towards religious people, because not all people treated me that well. A lot of people did not want to be my friend anymore, did not want to talk to me, did not want me to be in the same activities. My parents, of course, to this day are in denial. My father more so, probably. My mother, I think, has come to understand this was not just a phase I was going through, because I've been going through it for about 10 years now of disbelief, non-belief. So I think my mother finally has come to accept that fact. I don't think she's happy about it. I know my father's not, and he will still do things that make me a bit uncomfortable, like ask me to say grace at Thanksgiving dinner. To which I have to respond with something like, I'm not sure I'm the man for that particular job. So there's certainly, it has not been an entirely positive experience. However, in your video you asked, what is the benefit? If it's merely being able to say there's no God, that doesn't seem like much of a benefit. And I would agree with you, except this isn't about being able to say there is no God or not. This is about being able to be yourself. Being free to express your beliefs or lack thereof. This is allegedly a free society, where freedom of religion is one of the main tenets that the country was founded upon. One would assume that would include any religion, including and up to a lack thereof completely. So I recall you saying something like you had dipped a toe or a foot into the pool and it felt pretty good. What you're feeling there, and I'm sure you know this, but just to let it be said, what you're feeling there is freedom, the freedom of casting off a false role that you have to assume. Now, April, I don't know if you're a geek like me, but I am a pretty hardcore geek, and in my day I used to read a lot of comic books. One of my favorite comic book series was the X-Men. Now, regardless of whether or not you've read the comics, you may have seen the films. If you haven't, I actually do recommend you watch the first two, not because they're action movies or comic book movies, but because they delve into the subplot of the comics that I liked so much as a child, which was dealing with being an outcast, dealing with society looking at you as a threat somehow. In the X-Men universe, mutants are looked down upon. People are frightened of them. There is legislation passed to try and mark them because they look just like you and me, a lot of them. Now, Kevin Smith has drawn the connection to gay people, saying they look just like you and me, and people are afraid of them and accusing them of breaking up the family values of America and all that ridiculous nonsense. But I think it applies just as well to atheism. It's an analogy has been used before, and I agree with it. probably just as frightening on either side. Anyhow, in the second X-Men film, there's a great scene between a mutant named Mystique, who is blue-skinned naturally, but she's a metamorph, or a shapeshifter. She's able to take any form she wants. She's talking with another blue-skinned mutant named Nightcrawler, and he comes to understand her ability, and he asks of her, if you can change form and look like them, why don't you do that all the time? She responds by saying, because we shouldn't have to. That line really resonated with me. We should be free to be able to assert our beliefs, including our lack of a belief, regardless of how popular that belief is, and not feel judged and not have to worry about losing our jobs or losing the respect of our friends or friendship. I guess it comes back to what your mom or dad might have told you when you were a child, that if your friends are going to be that shallow, they're not really your friends. So if you lose friends over your atheism, they probably didn't like you for who you were, they liked you for who they perceived you to be. But if someone comes out and asks me, I'm not going to lie to them and say, oh yeah, I believe in Jesus. First of all, because I don't like lying, but more importantly, because I would feel like I'm just misrepresenting myself. I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me. It's something that I just can't do. So the trade-off is a lot more than simply being able to say things like, oh, God is dead, you know. It's more than being able to wear a Nietzsche t-shirt. It's being able to be true to yourself. Now, in my particular set of circumstances where I don't feel particularly threatened by coming out and saying these things, even though I live in a fairly religious state, in my particular set of circumstances, I feel like it's a worthy trade-off. But you have to weigh the perceived risks and benefits for yourself and come to that decision on your own. I can't make it for you. I know you weren't really asking for people to make it for you, I know. I'm simply saying that it would be arrogant of me or anyone else to try and tell you what to do. Only you know your specific circumstances. But I did want to make a video and tell you that it really feels great to be able to say loudly and proudly, I am an atheist. You know, you don't have to justify yourself to anybody. So you decide what's best for you, and you do that. In the meantime, please continue to make videos. And don't feel like you don't have anything to add, because that's not true. You know, I'm not a scientist, professionally speaking. I've only studied science. But I've had people asking me scientific questions all the time. What I do is answer the questions to the best of my ability, and then point them towards the reference sources that I use to answer their questions, and hope that they can answer some of their own questions for themselves, or will take responsibility for their own education. That's all I can do as a layperson. You know, you don't have to be a great philosopher or a scientist to, you know, further the conversation. And sometimes it's nice just to see another atheist saying, "Hi, I'm an atheist. Nice to meet you." You know, it's that sense of community we all long for. We're pressured to conform a lot of times by society. But that pressure comes out of a very natural desire to be accepted or to feel accepted. But I think that feeling of acceptance isn't worth much if you know that you're not being accepted for who you really are. So I think it's very valuable to come on here and just to see so many other people and to know that you're not alone. And you're not alone. Remember that. So thank you for your time, and I hope to see more videos from you. And Ween rules. Later.